Hello, my friend. I'm glad to see you made it today. We have gathered here in the name of Jesus Christ. Glory be to God. He's alive. This is the Gospel Hour with David. I'm glad you guys joined it. Today we have a special little thing. It's not so much Gospel Hour as Bible study, but I want to respond to another radio show or another show. And it is the Atheist Experience. That's the name of their show, the Atheist Experience. And it's Don and Matt. They are call-in radio show. Call in with your questions or your evidence of why you believe in what you believe in. And they had some great questions and that are real sound, real logical, and viable questions that we as Christians should be willing to answer, and not just willing to answer, but to think about what their questions are. So I have a response to Matt and Don, and they had a caller call in, and poor old, Carl from Oklahoma was crushed within 12 minutes of his false testimony, and I don't know, and that's the thing, they are asking for evidence outside of the Bible. So give me your evidence or the basis upon why you believe in a God, and what's the evidence for that God's existence, and show us outside of the Bible, like your own evidence, right? And so I think God is science, I think in science we find God. And God is very scientific. We look into the universe, we look into all things and see the evidence of intelligence. And not just, like when I look at the moon, I see that the moon itself is intelligent. And people and scientists will tell you, well, that moon don't just stay there because it chooses to. It's there because of the gravitational pull, which comes by the sun and all those things. But in it, there's something intelligent, plus they have no evidence or proof. That's a theory. That's a theory. This is what we believe, right? In a theory, and until that theory is proven false, well, that's truth. Same with faith in God or a God, that until our faith is proven false, right, it's truth. And so Jesus says, and why do I mention Jesus? Because to me, Jesus Christ is my God, and why do I believe Jesus Christ is my God, or why have I chosen him as God? What is the evidence for any of that? And, well, in all of it, I believe that we, the human beings of this world, are one made in the image of God. So if I'm going to put on logic thinking, and who is God, and what is God? Is God like Horus, one of the ancient gods? Horus was a cow, and would God come in the form of a cow? Beings, we ourselves are made in God's image, if we believe that. And I happen to believe that we are made in God's image. So why do I believe Jesus Christ is God? Because God appeared in his own image. He didn't appear in a statue, right? There's many gods and different forms of gods and thousands of different gods, and there's a statue for every single god. But can that statue talk? Can any of those statues or any of those gods or things produce evidence, right? And I don't believe they can. Especially if God made us in his image, why would God use something else to provide evidence of his existence? If we're gonna see God, we're gonna see God in the image, right, that he has declared himself as. So he says, man was made in my image. So he must look like a man. He must look like a human. Jesus looked like a human. He was a man, right? Now why else would I put my faith or belief or in Jesus or God that I didn't see, that other people saw? And I tried that. I was like most other Christians in my life, and I tried to believe in another person's testimony, like believe in the Bible and the testimony of the people in the Bible. Like I was going to believe in their faith, and their faith would carry me along, or their testimony. But I really had no evidence, right? And even in the Bible, there none of the disciples or the people who said they knew Jesus himself, neither God, wrote the Bible. But people who experienced something, they had an experience, and those are the people who wrote the Bible, whether they had an experience with meeting eyewitnesses of Jesus or Jesus himself. Something moved them. And it wasn't faith in another man's story, but something happened in their lives, and it moved them. It changed them. For me, myself, faith wasn't good enough. Yeah, I wanted to believe in faith. But I don't know if it was faith or what it was, but something created a desire, just like all other people, to know what's the truth and where's the evidence of this truth. So I like many people say, if you want to know who God is, you got to ask God, like, who are you? And so I did that. And there's many times where in my life, and even still today, there's times in my life where I'm like, where is God? Where's God when people are raising children with mental illness? Whether it be like schizophrenia types of mental illness, autism, or whatever it is, some sort of bodily deformity. What kind of a God does these things or allows murder and war and genocide and unrighteous things, and all of it. I got to know, how do I know any of those things are bad? And why do I believe those things are bad or right or good? And then I got to say I'm intelligent. What defines intelligence? The difference between right and wrong, knowing. Kind of like the moon. There must be an intelligent design behind the moon. Maybe the moon itself has intelligence because it says to itself, if I go outside of my orbit, outside of my boundary, I'll crash into the earth. Or whatever it may be. Now, when I say I believe in Jesus Christ or I believe in a God, what kind of a God do I believe in? Well, I believe God is love. Now, can I prove God exists? Well, I can prove love exists. Now, I got to be able to define love. And there I can have an evidence of something I can touch and feel and see. And I say, for me, God is love. And how do I know God's love? Because when I asked God, where are you? Where were you in that disaster or that thing? Or where are you in the midst of all of this that's going on? His love, and he answered. See, I have heard the voice of Jesus Christ, and yeah, I don't have, like you, I don't have a witness. And there's where faith comes. Do you want to believe my witness? Right? See, it's kind of like in 1984, they have the United States Olympic team, a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of college kids, non-professional athletes go out and win the world gold medal in Olympic hockey, right? And they're playing against the Russians and the Swedes and all these people who are made up of all-star teams of professional athletes. And yet these college kids go in and win that and become one of the greatest American Olympic teams to ever engage in it. And I wasn't there. I was 10 years old. Didn't see it. In fact, the day it was going on, I'm out playing with crawdads and tadpoles and doing things that 10-year-old kids do. But there was 100 million people that saw it and experienced it. And there were people there at the stadium, and they saw it and they experienced it. And the joy and the excitement they felt. They could tell me all about the experience and what it was like and how awesome it felt and how cool it was that these young kids beat these professional athletes, and I could believe in their testimony alone. Or, I could play a replay of the movie or the actual event, and there have that evidence to believe in something that happened. And I come to realize in the Bible, it's not that they're writing or inventing a God. They're saying something happened in my life that was so profound. It moved me to a place where I was willing to allow people to saw me in half, cut me down, destroy me, ridicule me, shame me, and all these things, because what I experienced was so profound. I know without a doubt in my life, in my body, whether you witnessed it or not, it happened. It happened. And that experience was real. And even after I heard the voice of Jesus Christ there in 1994, it takes 20 more years of my life to say what had happened in my life was real. And it was evidence. I got videos and things of me that are made from 2013 all the way to today. You could go to the videos in 2013 and see physically that I have evidence that God, Jesus Christ, can transform anyone. He can transform anyone. And that's what I'm saying, that if you knew God, He would transform you. And what is the evidence of God in our world? And is it faith? Well, you would have faith if you believed in my story. Without seeing it, without having been there. But the evidence is that I know God can transform anybody or anything. And I am the evidence. That's the thing. What's the evidence? Me. In all the Bible. What was Gideon's evidence? Me. Gideon. This is the evidence. Hey, how do we know you spoke to an angel of the Lord? Yeah, he did 3 miracles for you, and all these things. Lets it rain on the carpet and then doesn't rain on the carpet and wall. But we weren't there. What's your evidence? Me. My faith in what happened was so profound in my life, I'm ready to move 100,000 people into a place where God promised us to go. Then, somehow, I don't know, people believed in him. Then he said, well, God said, I don't need 100,000. I need 300. And why does God always put it down to numbers like this so that we can't say ourselves that I proved God is real? I did this on my own might. Does God need our power? Does God need anything from us? No. We don't need, God doesn't need anything. He doesn't need us to help him save people or get people to believe. God does these things on his own. And if you knew God, you would be so moved. You would transform your life. Everything has intelligent design. Even us. And what is the thing, do I believe in a God? And I believe in Jesus Christ as God, because through him he shows and shares what he knowed about God. That God is unconditional love. Now, what is faith? Faith is believing in something unseen. And I know for a fact, through scientific evidence or experience or whatever it is, that unconditional love does not exist in this world. It's not in this world. It's not out here in a place where it can be seen. You say, well, what's the evidence that unconditional love exists, or God, who is unconditional love, exists? Well, why doesn't God stop war? Maybe it's beyond my imagination, but God could love people who engage in war. And so he allows them to exist. There's something about unconditional love that we as human beings just wished we could wrap our minds around, but we can't. We're not empowered with it, or we just don't believe that it exists. I don't know. But I know unconditional love exists because when God creates the sun, the moon, and the stars, and earth, and all the life on it, he allows that life to exist and be. Even if all the human beings are the most vile things in all of God's creation, he still allows it to be. And maybe why people are born with disabilities and different things, it's just another expression of what is unconditional love like. Do you really think God cannot love a broken person or an imperfect person? Maybe God is displaying his magnificent love through that person. Because they exist, that's a form of unconditional love. Same with the poor, same with the rich, same with the greedy, same with everything that's out there. There must be some sort of intelligence behind it all. In the same way, if you study science, they have the God particle, and there the scientists ram two particles together, two minute, tiny atoms together, and when they hit, they blast it open, and inside of that is a particle, or an existence, or a thing. And they say without that particle, without that thing, nothing can be or have form. It is the intelligence inside the intelligence inside of an atom, inside of a nucleus, which designs or gives life to trees or plant or fish or animals or humans or whatever it is. There's a code inside of there. Same with our DNA code. DNA and all these different things. Many people, I believe there are many gods. You say, why do you believe there are many gods? How can you say that? Don't you just believe in one God? I believe there's one God who created all things, but he created us to be gods. To be gods. To know God. To know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. How do I know God exists? Because I have asked the question, where are you? That's wisdom. Where did that wisdom or that knowledge, faith, where is faith? And what is faith? And I say, what is the source of faith? Where did faith come from? Something had to create faith. Was it reading the Bible? Was it doing this or that? What creates faith or the source of faith? And as Jesus says, those who you cannot believe in something without having faith or evidence. Evidence, faith is evidence. Faith is an action. See, Jesus says that if you had faith, all right, now it has many teachings of how to connect with God, how to understand God, how to connect with people and to understand people in this world. There's many teachings of Jesus all about that. He has one teaching about prayer. Pray like this, Our Father who lives in heaven, right? And we go down and it's a very short prayer. That's all he's got on prayer. But now when he says to Peter, if you have faith, one of his disciples, if you have faith, all right, you wouldn't pray to God and say, God, move this mountain, or tell this mountain to uproot itself and throw itself into the sea. No, if you had faith, you walk up to the mountain and you say to the mountain, move. Faith is an authority. It's not just a belief, but it's authority. It's evidence. I have the authority given to me by God to tell you to move, and I know you you must obey my authority. Now move, he says to the mountain, and the mountain moves into the sea. Because I know my authority and where my authority comes from. The faith is saying to it, my authority is God-given, now move. Right? And Jesus says, all ye of little faith. How is it Jesus can do the miracles that they said that he did? Because I have the authority. And not only do I have the authority, I have the faith. And where did my faith come from? Standing face to face with God. Speaking to God face to face. And all these things. Where did my evidence come from? Hearing the voice of God. Not once, but a few times. And in it, God never, he was very consistent to the teachings of Jesus Christ. And this is outside of the Bible. This is in my life. David, he calls me by my name. David, right? He knows me personally. David, go and tell the world. He shows me how much he loves me. He shows me how precious I am to him. This is something I did. This is what he did to me, for me. And then says, shows me as an example of how important and precious I am to him. And then says, don't I love them?